Continuing the Codex Quadrivium, we're now in Book 9, which starts the second half of the portion that we currently have access to, the Scrolls of Echo and Flame. Book 9 is called the Scrolls of Echo and Flame. It tells the story of the rooted transformation into the Abon, a people devoted to memory, balance, and growth through the sacred flame. After planting the first tree, Thalen, they establish a covenant rooted in tending and remembrance. Through trials of fire, sorrow, and silence, they learn that true strength lies not in control, but in listening, humility, and harmony with the world. By the book's end, their mission spreads across distant lands, and the flame becomes a living legacy carried both in grove and soul. Chapter 1. The Grove of First Flame. And it came to pass in the season of rekindling that the rooted journeyed into the vale of ash, where no leaf had stirred for 1,000 cycles. For the fire of the fifth had faded, and the branches of old lay broken upon the dust. Yet the rooted bore with them the seeds of memory, which their fathers had hidden in vessels of clay ere the sundering began. And they spake among themselves, saying, Let us plant anew the saplings of the elder days, that the world may remember its breath. Then came Maleir, called the Verdant, a child of the line of Edrin, and he bowed low to the soil and wept upon it. Where his tears did fall, the ground grew soft, and the seeds did stir within their husks. And lo, from the earth rose a tender shoot, green with the light of the morning, though the sky was yet dim with sorrow. The people beheld it, and it fell upon their faces, for they knew the spirit of flame had not utterly departed. And Maleir named the tree Thalen, which is to say, first memory, and he set a stone beside it, bearing the mark of 4 roots. From thence did they plant 60 more, each from a different vessel, and the grove began to live again. Birds returned to its boughs, and the wind sang low as in the elder songs. And the rooted made covenant, that they would guard the grove with their lives, and pass its tale unto the 4th generation. Thus began the age of Echo, when that which was lost was began to heard in whispers of leaf and wind. And all who walked in the grove felt the fire of the fifth still burning, though unseen, for the flame was not lost but hid, awaiting those who remembered. Chapter 2. The Covenant of Roots. And it came to pass that the grove waxed great, and the saplings grew strong by the tending of faithful hands. Then rose Elian, son of Terman, keeper of lore, and he gathered the people into the circle of stones. There he spake, saying, The seed is planted, yet without covenant it shall perish again in forgetfulness. For as the fire fades when not guarded, so doth memory fail when not bound by vow. Let us bind ourselves, not by sword nor fear, but by root and branch, to the keeping of the flame. And all the rooted assented with one voice, crying, Let it be done as in the days before the sundering. So Elian took 4 rods of cedar, and upon each he inscribed a rune, remembrance, tending, teaching, and sacrifice. These he planted at the 4 corners of the grove, and they shone faintly with the light of the seed fire. Then did the rooted pass beneath them one by one, swearing by the breath of the trees and the blood of their kindred. And thus was born the covenant of roots, which endureth unto this day among the Abon. They wrote it upon bark and stone, and set it high in the arbor halls for all to see. And whosoever entered the grove knew they had stepped upon hallowed ground. For from that day the grove spake, though none heard it with ears, and its silence taught them wisdom. Chapter 3. Of the Children and the Trees. In the days following the covenant, the children of the rooted did come daily to the grove to play and to learn. And the elders taught them the tongue of leaves and the way of tending root and bow. They showed them how to read the rings of an elder trunk and how to know the health of bark by touch. For every tree hath a voice, and every grove a memory, and he that listeneth shall find counsel therein. Then spake Thalen, daughter of Abon, saying, The trees are slow, yet they see more than the swift-footed. Let us therefore write not only upon scrolls, but within the trees themselves. So she took a blade of silver, and carved upon a young oak the tale of Thalen, that it not be lost. And the tree bled not, for it knew her hand, and the tale was accepted into its flesh. Henceforth the trees became the scroll of the Abon, and every seedling was a page of living memory. And the children rejoiced, for they were now both readers and writers of hidden book of the grove. Thus were the first arbor scrolls appointed, and they bore no quills but pruning hooks, and their wisdom grew as the forest did flourish. Chapter 4. The Pilgrimage of the Planters. And the time came when the elders said, Let not the flame be kept only here, lest the world forget again. Send ye forth the faithful, that they may bear seed and song to all corners of the land. So were chosen 12 among them, one from each hill and hollow, and they took up staffs of birch. These were called the planters, and their feet were swift and their hearts steadfast. They journeyed through sown and stand, across waters still and wild, seeking places where the wind did not sing. And wherever they found silence and sorrow, they planted the seed of Thalen and built an altar of unshaped stone. Then they would strike the ground with their staffs and wait 7 days. If in that time the seed did not break forth, they knew the place was ready to be healed. If not, they journeyed onward, leaving behind only a song that the earth might one day remember. And thus the flame spread beyond the veil, though few beheld it and fewer believed. Yet the planters rejoiced not in numbers but in roots, and measured not time in days, but in the length of shadow beneath the growing tree. And in every sapling they saw the echo of the first flame, and in every journey the path to wholeness. Chapter 5. The First Withering. And in the third season a shadow passed over the grove, though no cloud was seen above. The leaves of the elder trees turned not gold but ashen, and some branches did twist as in pain. The people feared, saying, Hath the flame departed from among us? Then came Melior, now grey with years, and laid his hand upon Thalen. And he spake, saying, The flame is not gone, but grieving, for we have planted without knowing and taught without seeking. We made haste to spread root and bough, yet neglected the soil with our own hearts. Let the grove rest, and each return to his place of birth, to tend the old wounds and mend what was broken ere we begin anew. So the rooted scattered, each to his own hill and hollow, bearing with them not seed but silence. And the grove stood empty, save for Thalen, who bore withering in stillness and endured. For one cycle the wind was bitter, and no songs were sung. Yet in that quiet the trees did speak once more, not in triumph, but in truth. And thus was born the first withering, a time of sorrow that did cleanse the pride from their roots. Chapter 6. Of Dreams and Echoes. In the days of silence the rooted began to dream, and their dreams were not of the groves they had planted, but of places they had never seen. They beheld in vision great trees of fire, and mountains that breathed mist, and waters that wept light. And each saw a different vision, yet all were troubled with the sound of distant weeping. Then Elian, the lore-keeper, rose from his dreaming and wrote upon a slate, The flame is not bound to grove nor seed, but to the song of the world, and the song is broken. So he journeyed to the circle of stones and called forth the arbor scribes. There he told them of his dream, and they brought forth carvings from the trees, writings that none had read for many seasons. And behold, the oldest bark was found, a tale of a place before place, a grove before groves, where the first fire sang aloud. And it was called Athradel, the deep root. And the people wept, for they knew they had not yet found the true beginning. And a voice went out among them, saying, Seek ye the deep root, and ye shall find harmony of all growing things. Chapter 7. The Song of Root and Flame. Then rose Thalen, daughter of Abon, and she took up her harp of willow, and sat beneath the tree of Thalen. And she sang not with tongue alone, but with soul, and her melody wove through the branches like a breath of spring. The trees did stir, and withered leaves trembled, though no wind passed. And the flame within Thalen awakened, and burned not with heat, but with memory. Her song told of the sundering and of Abon, and of the planting of the covenant. It rose in sorrow and descended in hope, and the people gathered to hear, though none called them. As she sang, the grove bloomed anew, not in flower, but in remembrance, for her song had reached into the very root of the world, and stirred the first echoes of Athrodel. Then Calian ceased, and laid her harp upon the soil, and the people stood in silence, for the song yet lingered in the air. From that day forth no song was sung without root, and no seed planted without flame. Thus was the harmony renewed, and the song of root and flame became law unto the Abon. Chapter 8, The Whispering Stones. In the days following the new song, the planters returned from afar, bearing tales of stones that spake. These stones lay in circles and rows, forgotten in high places and hollow hills, and though they moved not, they whispered in dream to those who slept near. Elian, desiring to know their counsel, set forth to the hill of Theriel, where the largest of the stones stood. There she lay her head upon it. In a vision she saw a forest of stars, and a voice that said, "All hath flame root in memory, and all memory is planted in fire." When she awoke, she carved upon the stone, "Echoes are not shadows, but beginnings waiting to return." From that day the rooted made pilgrimage to the stones, and built no altar, but listened. And in the stillness they learned of things yet to be, of distant groves and fires not yet kindled. And the stones became teachers, and their counsel was not command, but question. For the flame asked not obedience, but understanding. And they that understood became wise, and they that obeyed alone grew brittle. Thus did the rooted begin to walk with both fire and silence, knowing one would test the other. Chapter 9, The Rootless Ones. And it came to pass that strangers entered the valley, clothed not in leaf, nor marked with the runes of the grove. They were wanderers, born of fire, but not of soil, and their eyes held the storm, but not the seed. The rooted spake unto them, saying, "Sit ye beneath our boughs, and learn the peace of tending." But they answered, "We have no time for growing. The world is burning behind us." Then Elian called a gathering, and the people debated long. Some said, "Cast them out, for they are barren of memory." Others replied, "Let them stay, for even dry roots may drink again if given rain." So they were given shelter at the edge of the grove, near the stones that whisper. And at night they wept in sleep, for the flame they had once known was devouring a fire, not a guiding light. Calian came to them and sang the song of root and flame, and the youngest among them began to hum the melody. And the elders marveled, saying, "Even the rootless may yet bear fruit." From that day the grove was open to all who would remember and tend, though their past was ash. Chapter 10, The Southward Seeds. Now in those days the wind turned warm, and the planters looked to the south, where the land was parched and cracked. And they said to one another, "Shall we not send seed where none hath grown, that the flame may test itself?" So they chose 12 again, and gave each of them a single seed from Thalen, wrapped in linen marked with sap. These were the southward seeds, a hope against the drought of the world. Their journey was long through lands of dust and silence, where no bird sang and no stream ran. Yet they planted, not in soil alone, but in song and sorrow, telling tales of the first grove as they worked. And in the fourth season one seed took root near a dying well, and a single green shoot rose among the stone. The people of that place gathered and asked, "What magic is this?" The planters replied, "It's not magic, but memory." From that well was built the hall of Thalen's echo, and it became a place of learning and renewal. And the south knew the flame was not of fire and judgment, but the breath of life. Thus did the flame walk in places once forsaken, and the song was carried on southern winds. Chapter 11, The Watchers of Gabor. In the heart of the southern lands, where the great stone city of Gabor stood, word of the flame reached the ears of Levin IV. He was a king of long years and many doubts, and he summoned the planters to his court. There they told him of Thalen and the covenant of roots and the withering and the song. He answered, "If the flame be true, let it burn where none command it." So he sent watchers into the wild, not to tend, but to observe. And these watchers saw a flame awaken in quiet places, in the hands of children and the songs of strangers. And they returned, saying, "It grows without decree, and it listens without law." Then Levin spake unto his scribes, saying, "Let this be written. That which leads without throne and speaks without word is to be feared and followed." From that day Gabor became a place of balance, where the rule of kings and the voice of trees shared weight. And the rooted who dwelled there taught their doctrine of four: memory, silence, tending, and flame. For they believed all things must grow in harmony, and that the flame without root is a sword. Thus Gabor became a pillar of the Abon, and its halls were lined with bark and book alike. Chapter 12. The Covenant Renewed. Now when the seasons had passed and the first grove bore fruit, the people gathered again at the circle of stones. And Malir, though old and bent, stood beneath Thalen and called forth the covenant. The people wept, for many had wondered, and some had forgotten the vows of old. Then came the rootless ones, and the children of the south, and the scribes of Gabor, and all stood together in silence. Kalian raised her voice and sang of the old song of root and flame. None among them were strangers. Elian read aloud the four runes, and each was spoken the tongue of every tribe. The covenant was carved anew, not on bark alone, but in the hearts of those who gathered. And Thalen dropped a single leaf, golden and unburnt, which fell upon the altar and did not wither. They took this as a sign that the flame had been kindled again, not in one place, but in many. From thenceforth the covenant was no longer bound to the grove, but carried in seed, and in song, and in soul. And in the name of the rooted became the Abon, which is to say, those who tend. Thus ended the first scroll of echo and flame, and the world turned towards harmony once more. Chapter 13 of Ash and Ember. And it came to pass in the year of drought and fire that a great burning swept across the hills of the east. The groves planted by the planters were consumed, and their altars blackened unto silence. Many cried out, saying, "Hath the flame turned upon us? Is the memory of Thalen consumed?" Then arose Tiran, son of Elian, and he journeyed to the charred place with naught but a vessel of ash. And he gathered the dust of the burned trees and poured it in a circle, and within it placed a single unburnt seed. And he spake, saying, "The flame destroyeth not that which remembers, but clears the path for that which endures." Then came rain upon the land, and the seed did spring forth from the ash. The people marveled and fell silent, for they beheld that even the ember hath a root. Tiran taught them, saying, "Let not your hearts fear fire, but forgetfulness. For ash becomes soil, and from soil cometh remembrance, if ye tend it with truth." And the burned altars were left standing, blackened but upright, as witness to the endurance of flame. Thus did the Abon learn to plant in sorrow and reap in wisdom. Chapter 14. The Grove Beneath. In the days following the fire, the Abon dug deep beneath the oldest trees, seeking the wellspring of their roots. There they found caverns of stone, and within them glowing moss and waters still as time. And the roots of Thalen reached even there, though none had known it. Elian descended with a torch and beheld carvings upon the walls older than any known tongue. And in the center of the cavern stood a crystal tree, a clear as glass and humming with light. He fell to his knees and cried aloud, saying, "Truly the flame was planted deep ere we ever knew its name." The elders gathered and called it the Grove Beneath, the hidden heart of all growing things. They placed no torch therein, for it gave its own light, and no songs were sung, for the stone itself did sing. From thenceforth all new scribes descended to the Grove Beneath to listen before they carved or taught. And the light of the crystal tree became a sign of truth, against which all counsel was tested. For in the deep silence error was burned away, and only memory remained. Thus did the Abon gain a foundation no fire could reach. Chapter 15. The Coming of the Four. Now in 100th season of the flame, 4 strangers came from the ends of the land, bearing no mark of the Abon. Yet each bore a gift, 1 fire, 1 seed, 1 stone, and 1 silence. They spoke not their names, but walked into the grove and stood before Thalen. The tree stirred, though the wind was still, and its leaf turned toward the strangers. Then Thalen, now aged and wise, came forth and asked, "What seek ye in the heart of memory?" And the one with fire said, "We seek what cannot be burned." The one with the seed said, "We seek what cannot die." The one with the stone said, "We seek what cannot be moved." The one with the silence said, "We seek what cannot be named." Thalen wept and welcomed them, saying, "Ye are kin, though no blood binds us." The strangers laid their gifts at the roots of Thalen, and the ground shook gently. From that day the 4 gifts were carved into the covenant anew, and the Abon knew their path was true. Chapter 16. The Fire Remembered. And in the last days of the scroll, the scribes gathered beneath the boughs of Thalen, whose leaves were now silver with age. Elian, nearing death, spoke unto the people, saying, "The flame was never ours to hold, but ours to tend. Let none say the grove is the end, for it is but the echo of a greater song. Remember the fire, and pass it not as burden, but as blessing. Let each tree be planted in remembrance, each seed carried in reverence. Teach the young not only what we have done, but what we failed to do. For the flame is not pride, but promise. And if it be forgotten, it shall return as judgment. But if it be cherished, then it shall remain as light." And the people wept, and wrote his words upon the roots and upon their hearts. And when Elian died, a new tree rose beside Thalen, unplanted by any hand. They named it Eliath, which is to say, the flame remembered. And thus ended the scrolls of echo and flame, and the covenant stood eternal in root and in soul.